Dead Space 4. Sorry, just kidding. The Callisto Protocol. It's out and it's awesome. Well, the story and graphics anyway. We'll leave Digital Foundry to fill you in on the performance, so check out their video. A massive facility silently floats through the void of space. While the exterior might seem peaceful, unspeakable horrors exist within. The kinds of monstrous nightmares that could have only existed in John Carpenter's worst wet dreams. Contorted, twisted amalgamations of flesh and bone lurk inside, just waiting for their chance to rip an unsuspecting human to shreds. Like all real-life problems, the situation on this vessel can only be resolved by a mediocre white guy who falls ass backwards into trouble. No, not Isaac Clarke. He had 3 chances and he messed the last one up. Now it's Josh Duhamel's turn to quell fleshy monstrosities as Jacob Lee, who is an interplanetary freight transporter. And I thought my job was boring. Gamers all over the world have already started to dig into the horrors of the Callisto Protocol, but how did this game come to be? Why does it exist in a world where Dead Space has been dead for over a decade? And how did they get the king of rom-coms and Transformers to star in it? These are the questions we'll be covering in this gaming essay, and the answers to all of them go back to one man, Glenn Schofield. You see, Glenn Schofield is a gaming industry icon. If you've never heard of him, you've definitely played something he's either created or otherwise had his hands on. Glenn played huge roles in games like Barbie, Game Girl from 1991. Oh, but many years later he also directed Akuji the Heartless. Look it up. Blood Omen 2 Legacy of Kain, and served as the co-director on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Advanced Warfare, and World War II. He is also credited with creating and producing the game The Callisto Protocol, which takes its inspiration from, of course, Dead Space. Because they are so similar, some might even go so far as to say indistinguishable, we can look at Glenn's original concept for Dead Space to inform us about the Callisto Protocol. Glenn Schofield was clearly inspired by Event Horizon, a 1997 sci-fi horror film directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Before he farted out 6 Resident Evil movies, Paul W.S. Anderson created this actually competent blend of Lovecraftian horror and high-tech sci-fi. Using this as a base, Glenn also incorporated his love of renowned sci-fi author Arthur C. Clarke into the game's story. That's why Dead Space and its sequel, not the third one, carry such vivid themes of humanity losing its sense of place in the universe and going beyond the bounds of natural life to gain some kind of ultimate power and control. These are the kinds of subjects Arthur C. Clarke touches on in his writings, and they must have resonated with Glenn pretty hard because he named Isaac Clarke Dead Space's protagonist after that author. Glenn didn't have anything to do with Dead Space 2 or the following game as he left EA to work with Activision in 2009. There, he met some big-name actors who would occasionally star in the Call of Duty games he was involved with, and one of those actors was, perhaps you've already guessed, Josh Duhamel. Josh played a primary character in Call of Duty World War II, and he must have made a good impression on Glenn because the two chose to collaborate on a brand new project for Glenn's brand new studio, Striking Distance. While Glenn has been in charge of his studio before, he co-founded Sledgehammer Games, he hasn't had any kind of real autonomy since he created Dead Space in 2008. That's why when an opportunity came up to become the CEO of a new game studio under Krafton, the PUBG publisher, he jumped at the chance. Glenn founded Striking Distance Studios, formed his team, and got busy redeeming his former work by creating the ultimate version of a concept he had over 10 years ago, and the rest, as they say, is history. For the most part, the Callisto Protocol appears to have been at least a moderate success, as long as you play it on PS5. It had some serious performance problems on other platforms at launch, but for now, this is the best modern sci-fi horror game we're gonna get for a while, at least until that Dead Space remake drops. Will that be able to capture the magic of the original when the original creator of that game couldn't even capture that magic a second time? Only time will tell, but I'm sleeping with the lights on either way. Speaking of Dead Space, what's your favorite Dead Space game? We know it's the third one, come on now, just admit it. Let us know in the comments, but remember to be nice. Stay tuned for our upcoming story behind Resident Evil Village Winter's Expansion. And while you're here, why don't you check out our look at Man of Medan, because even when it's bad, it's good. I'm Mike Golchinski, and I'll see you in the next video.